What's up, Minnesota Viking fans? Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. My name is Kyle Smith. It is Tuesday, August 16th, 2022, and Vikings football is back. And you know what? I'm glad to share it with the one and only Adam Carlson. How are you, sir?
It's kind of back.
Yeah.
No, not really, but a little bit.
It's enough for me to get super pumped because we can overreact to everything. And yeah, that's my favorite part of it. I'm not even kidding. I love Twitter the day after so we can figure out who should have been our general manager because obviously Kwesi was terrible. We can see who to cut immediately. It's my favorite part. And that laughter is from the other one and only Kyle West because he knows what I'm talking about. Both of these guys know. Twitter has been very active.
We're going to be talking about some cuts. You and I have a mock 53-man roster that we're doing. You are 100% correct on the overreactions. We went from Alexander Mattison, he's the best backup running back in the NFL. We're so happy to have him, to one preseason game later. You know what? We can get rid of him. Who needs him?
And then Madison goes on Twitter and starts defending himself, just like Chris Boyd. What's going on, guys?
Adam's favorite thing.
I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to talk about it, and you guys brought it up kind of organically, and this is great. There are a few, and I would probably give Adam and Kyle the nod there. I see these same accounts, but I feel like you guys have been more active on Twitter longer. Obviously, you've been in the Vikings community longer than I have. But there are staples of just random people like the three of us. They have a ton of Viking followers. We're all in a network together because we love the team. But they have some opinions, and when they get seen, especially if you follow the Vikings and your algorithm's right, you'll see these people whether you follow them or not, and they have opinions. And the fun thing about this weekend was these players saw those opinions. And not only did they see them, they had stuff to say about them. Alexander Mattison in particular, people were shitting on him left and right. Didn't have the strongest, performance in this preseason game, but it didn't help, too, that the rookie running backs looked really good, kind of outperformed him in this game. But, yeah, a lot of people were like, yep, time to trade Madison. Get what you can for him. He sucks. And he's just like, okay, well, here's a laughing emoji. Thanks. I see you. And I like that he said keep that same energy because I personally don't think he's going anywhere this year. I'm on the Kyle West train of maybe next year.
We'll talk about it. A scenario could unfold, maybe, but we'll get there when we get there.
Andrew, he said, I wanted to do a first because we had to let everyone know I was fashionably late for the 8 millionth show in a row. You were first, and you're always first in our hearts, so thank you. Him, Chris Boyd, he will not hold back. I love any cornerback in the world will talk shit to you on the internet. I promise. What Rashad Breeland is out there still running his mouth, and he doesn't have a team. He popped up on my timeline today, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. I'm soaking up the drama, and I know I shouldn't, but I kind of like it. I like seeing people get chirpy.
I unfollowed Rashad Breeland about halfway through last season. Mm-hmm. So when
he started talking about himself in the third person.
When he started talking about his dong, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
We don't need this.
For anyone that listens to the show, maybe later on in the podcast, in Apple or Spotify or wherever you get it, thank you, first of all. But Andrew says, we don't need to see what Madison has. We already know. And I agree with that. We kind of know what he is already. And this isn't like a prove it thing for him. He's been a solid 2. I remember a game where he did very well when Cook was out. I also remember a couple times where he missed like big lanes running, but what I like about Alexander Mattison is his balance between what he and Cook are, because they are not the same running back. They don't have the same sort of physical stature. They definitely don't have the same running style. And I think obviously Cook's a little more elusive, shifty. We've said it before on the show. He has that, like kind of the bowling ball effect, I don't think he's going anywhere, but Kyle and I are really excited because I've never done a 53 and like put it out to the internet. So I'm really excited to do that. But I have him on the team. Spoiler alert. I don't think
we are not immune to the criticism either from when we aren't the nicest to a player on the Vikings roster. We have gotten messages from Vikings players, family members, and things like that telling us, hey, that what you're doing ain't nice and all this kind of stuff. But I mean, it's not like we're making mistakes. These are our observations. We're not trying to belittle these players. We want all the players that suit up in purple and gold to have amazing seasons, win the Super Bowl, make it happen. That's what we want.
If I criticize a player on the Vikings, I want nothing more than to be wrong. And
that'd be great.
Yes, and for that player to just like shut us all up and like, hey, look how good they turned out to be. I would love for like a Wyatt Davis to just kick it into a high gear and earn that roster spot. I don't think it's going to happen. So it's fair to criticize players in certain situations like that.
Yeah, and I think that they all know that. I'm sure they have a class on almost everything, because when you get drafted or you become a professional football player through undrafted free agency, whatever, you have to take on that you're a celebrity of some degree. Now, the Tom Brady's, the Aaron Rodgers, the Patrick Mahomes, they're on another level. They're in another planet as far as we're concerned. But you're still like public information shoved out through media outlets. Hey, this, that, and the third, especially if you're drafted, because you're going to get coverage. Your name's going to be cemented there forever. And then it's up to you to have the impact. So contextually, like Kyle said, we don't say these things to pick on a player. We're not here to pick on anyone. We're not here to belittle them. And I am the first to admit, like, I'm not going to like talk active shit to you, because you could probably beat me up. And I realize that, and I respect that for it. And number one, I can't do what you do. You could probably do my job. I know I can't do yours, but to Adam's point, and I'll wind this down, is we're just telling you what we see. And you got to have like that. This is why it's such a balance now with social media and reporting and us talking about it, is we're just calling what we've watched, that's all we're here to do. So we want to make that disclaimer out there.
So let's talk about what we see in a little bit from that Raiders game. I don't know if we have to do like a full-on breakdown of it, but if we've got some takeaways, some positives, some negatives that we wanted to share, I thought that would be kind of a fun way to.
I got a pretty sweet article over on the Viking Age. It's my 7 biggest takeaways from this game, so I highly recommend you go check that out.
What was that? Adam Carlson writes for a website called the Viking Age, and you can find all kinds of Viking news there. Wow. That is super convenient on a Vikings podcast.
But I'm sure you guys have takeaways.
Well, I thought that Kellen Mond, we didn't. I felt like we didn't know much about him all last year, just because of the situation around him. And boy, we've seen him come in and struggle mightily there towards the end, and he got pulled back out. And he's been a question mark. And I thought that, okay, he started out, he was a little skittish. Once he settled down, I thought that he actually made a couple decent throws, and you can see that he's a young, athletic player. And I like the potential of Kellen Mond. I don't want to see him take the field at all this year for the Vikings.
No,
but he is an excellent project quarterback for this team, for Kevin O'Connell to kind of sink his fingers into and work with. I want him as my quarterback number 3 for this team. So that he has another full season to learn and to develop. And hey, let's see what we can get from him. But there were some positive takeaways from Kellen Mond, I thought.
Mond really struggled, though, in his first appearance in the game when he came in against the 2s and 3s. He didn't quite have his footing. He was scrambling all over the place, trying to make throws on the run that weren't there. He was panicking, and rightfully so. I mean, even when the first team offensive line was on the field, they were making some mistakes. And, once the backups came in, they played a little bit better against the Raiders' third team. But really the way it stacked up was when Mond came back in, because Mond and Mannion split the game fairly evenly.
Yeah.
Mond really looked pretty good and padded those stats up really well towards the end of the game, when a lot of the guys that aren't going to be on a 53 were on the field.
So I want to go in and jump in first. A couple minutes ago, Skull to Jason. He said, "What's up? We appreciate you being here." Charlotte and Jonathan, as always, thank you. Jonathan says, "Can we let Mannion go now?" Here's the thing, Jonathan. We could have let him go a few years ago. They choose to keep him around, and I don't get it. I don't.
And then Rick and Zim leave, and they bring him back again anyway.
I don't get it.
How?
We've said this on the show, and I'm going to stop saying it after this one, just because we've beat it into the ground. You can bring him on as a coach. You have the ability to do that. I just think someone that athletically shows you, even if it's a raw talent like a Kyle Sloter. Oh my God, that's weird. We had a Taylor Heineke for once. If he hadn't kicked his freaking apartment window or door in. I mean, the things that could have happened there. But go find a young prospect and say, hey, look, you're here to fight to get on the roster as the QB3. But I personally didn't watch the game. I was out and about, and I had a hard time finding it, which is really annoying. I live in Charlotte, so it's really hard anyways. But the biggest thing that I saw online...
I live in Iowa. I had a hard time finding this game for some reason.
They've got to figure that out. Yeah. And I know they're going to monetize it and be annoying about it, but I want to watch it, man. This is my...
It wasn't on NFL Plus for you guys?
I didn't check. I tried to get on a couple of the apps, and I'm one of those like, oh, you're out of the network, or it's not here, blah, blah, blah. So I'll have to figure that out in due time. But because, I use those third-party sites sometimes, and the delay is terrible. The picture's really crappy. So I don't want to avoid that for the season. But anyways, what I had taken away, and I watched the highlights, was, like Kyle said, Mond was a little shaky to start, but he throws 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I see Albert Wilson got some love. I see Ed Ingram got a lot of love. The running backs looked really good, and I saw pressures. The thing that I liked the most, I watched Gabe Henderson and Ben Lieber talk about was, and I didn't get to see the game itself, but he said, I don't care if the one was taken away because of a penalty. The Vikings got 5 sacks this game.
Yeah, right. That was something I wanted to talk about, too.
Go for
because, hey, this is our new defense, our 3-4, and we are running the most vanilla, basic version of this imaginable because the team is not going to tip their hat. And I thought that they looked okay at times out there.
Did you see where those sacks came from? Not so much the edge. They came right up the gut with those big guys in the middle. It was Harrison Phillips, Armand Watts, T.Y. McGill. I mean, these big boys just running through the line, doing their work. And we haven't even seen what Danielle Hunter and Zadarius Smith can do. And we've got these big boys up front that are pushing people around. That's nice to see.
And like I said, is that this is base vanilla, no scheme, no game plan, as basic as you can go with this defense, and they got pressure to it. So when we start getting the fun packages where we've got 3 safeties and Lewis Cine that we're maneuvering around out there on the field with our 2 big ends coming out and Hunter and Smith, like this could be a potent defense.
I got to ask you, Kyle, while we're talking about the young players on this team like Lewis Cine, the Booth double penalty, what did you think of that?
You know what? When they showed it on the replay, I'm like, I'm having a hard time spotting the penalty.
I didn't see the face mask.
Yeah.
The pass interference was kind of like, but I was unaware that both penalties could be accepted.
Yeah, and stack like that.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I know.
That's new.
Yes, I don't know if I like that at all.
I automatically hate it. My question to you guys is, since you guys and you in the chat, feel free obviously to chime in. For you guys that watched the game, there was who was it, the Giants and someone else they were played the other day. Were there any taunting calls in this game?
Not that I can recall.
They
I don't
called
think so,
such a bullshit call the other night at the Giants game, and I was like, are we really back to that? Are we seriously going back to like? I don't know. It was frustrating to watch. There was nothing there. I think it might have been against the Pats. But yeah, I didn't know. I didn't see any of that online, but I was just curious because that's something like we have some animated guys on this team, and I really want to see them be able to celebrate. And I don't want to pay for
like
it.
me some Andrew Booth. He's a physical young player, and he's got that attitude with him. He's gonna have some welcome to the NFL moments where he gets himself penalized on the field here, where I can see him getting pretty animated and having to be told to maybe calm down a time or two. But I still am a big fan of Booth. I think he's a young, really talented player for this team.
You could tell this was the second technical preseason game for the Raiders and the first for Minnesota, because Minnesota came out and they were a bit sloppy on both offense and defense. They racked up some penalties. They were missing tackles they should have made. It didn't look like they were anywhere near ready for the season. Now, to say that with 2 preseason games to go, I mean, plenty of time to get things started out. Not a lot of the starters in there, even on defense. So, yeah, it's not like it's probably a big deal or anything. But seeing so many missed tackles, bad angles, penalties, I mean, that is stuff that's got to get cleaned up. And it's Kevin O'Connell the kind to force that cleanup
Yeah.
Because he's kind of a player's coach, it seems. I'm curious if he has that backbone. I've been watching, and I'm not sure yet.
I don't even think it's I think he's a total player's coach, and I love it for the guys. But you're right, Adam. That's gonna be the biggest question: is when you do opposite ends of the spectrum, do you still have the respect enough when you come in to help, or does he just have this great way of saying, "All right, look, I'm not gonna scream at you. You're a grown man. I respect you. You got to fix this." And if he does do it that way, which I'm assuming it's some version of that, how do they respond? Because some people, when you challenge them and get in their face, they want to out alpha you, and they want to, I got this. I can figure this out. I wonder how that approach would go. But it seems like that's what a lot of the players wanted, especially after what they said last year. They were pretty open as soon as Zimmer left. Like, hey, I don't like this kind of style. So, yeah, that's a good one. I'm curious to see how they respond. They have a tough task this coming week, the 49ers. It's a tough physical team, but we'll see.
Well, didn't Minnesota have scrimmages in training camp against San Francisco?
That's coming this week, Adam.
Yes, this week, I believe. And then they'll also be hosting them, so it makes sense. They'll practice against them this week. You'll probably get to see some Kirk Cousins, because I'm assuming they're not going to do the very last preseason game. Maybe you'll get to see some of the starters for a very limited.
Cleared?
I haven't heard yet.
I thought he was cleared back today, but I don't want to say, because some of these
5 days. So, and I believe the NFL has pretty much gotten rid of all the protocol for COVID. So I would imagine if he says I feel fine, he should be good to go for the team.
Yeah, they came out with some, and the only reason I know this is because of work. I work in an airport, so we have to follow that pretty close. This is on Friday at 9:30. New COVID-19 guidance from CDC focuses on individual decisions. This is interesting. So this ties in with the NFL, and I wonder what they're going to do. Those exposed to the virus are no longer required to quarantine. Unvaccinated people now have the same guidance as vaccinated people. Students can stay in class even after being exposed to the virus, and it is no longer recommended to screen those without symptoms. So basically, if you don't feel bad, and hey, this is controversial, and I'm going to say it now. This is not a political statement at all. I'm just doing it for the health and I want to say, first and foremost, the health and the safety of the players and everybody else. Obviously, we want that paramount. Don't want anybody to get sick. Definitely don't want anyone to die. But if you don't test for this stuff and you're following the CDC, you're not going to have anybody miss games. At this point, you're probably just telling on yourself. Now, I don't know how many people are going to like that answer, but what I just read was, as long as you don't feel sick, you're good. So it would be nice if we didn't have to worry about that as much. Now, I know that would have caused a stink last year.
Essentially, Kirk's going to be back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and have some time to rest or whatever. Spend time with his family, because he needs more of that, as Vikings Twitter told us.
And you gotta get him a little bit of work out there on the field. You gotta get him some reps in a game.
No, I don't remember from last preseason. Was 2 or 3 the dress rehearsal?
Ooh.
I believe it shifted last year. So Adam's talking about the preseason shifting from 3 games, 4 to 3, and he's wondering. I
think it was 2, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 2. 2 was officially the 3rd game as of years before. So not the very last game, but the one before, which would now be the 2nd game. So that's why I feel like we could maybe see a couple of snaps from the key players, maybe 1 series from Kirk, but I don't know. I don't want any of my guys to get hurt.
Minnesota sure was generous, though, in sitting out a lot of those veterans and starters. And, yeah, I mean, I don't blame them for taking care, because there have been some big injuries already in the preseason.
There is, and you got to remember, we've added that extra game on top of the season, so there's one more regular season game. And if you're being serious about making a playoff push, it's like, why would you want to push your starters into a preseason game that's not going to matter and add the extra reps to them? Like, it's a balancing act between wanting to get your team, healthy, keep your team healthy, but also keep them on the same page and build that chemistry together. It's a tough thing to balance.
This is the hard part. Is there's no right answer. There's a group of answers that certain people will go to, and that's why I posted it earlier up here. You guys are talking a lot. I love that. I just scrolled to find my question. I asked, on the sidebar here. It says Colin Coward mentioned very recently in one of his shows. He suggested one preseason game. I don't need to see it. And I hate this answer because of the context and the depth in it. He goes, I know Daniel Jones can't play. I've seen him for 3 years. I know Aaron Rodgers can play. I'm like, dude, that is the worst example you could see. I'm talking about fringe players on this team. Like, I wonder if Jalen Twyman's going to make the team. He's got a cool story, right? He seems to have improved from last year. I don't care about Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson. I know they're going to be on the team. That's pretty shitty of an example. But he says, hey, I suggest one preseason game for the rookies and the undrafted free agents to fight for a spot. Don't play. And he goes, Matt Stafford didn't play last year and he won a Super Bowl. And it's like, okay, dude. That's different context.
I think you can whittle it down from 3 to 2.
Two, right? 2
preseason games. You have one that's your dress rehearsal. Like maybe the first game, you treat it where, hey, your starters are going to play for a quarter or a smidge at the beginning, and then you work everyone else in after that. Kind of like what we've seen from the Vikings against the Raiders. And then your number 2 game is your fringe guys, your undrafted, your everyone else that you just want to take a look at and see what you've got out there. You let those guys play, and I think you could get away with 2. His answer, I think, kind of overcomplicates it, because if you're saying, okay, well, you know that your Justin Jefferson doesn't need to play because he's a veteran or an established player, well, you can say the same thing about your rookies, because it almost doesn't matter if Lewis Cine is good or not. You know he's making the team. So
Adam,
like what? So why are you ranking like Jefferson over Cine? Like you do that weird thing where you're ranking players a little bit. Right? That's a little too messy. That's a little too messy for me.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Kyle. That's my bad.
No, you're fine.
What did you say in the chat response? I know what it was. I said that makes perfect sense. Something about, oh, does he want more people to get hurt in practice? Like, I guess you were trying to find the reasoning, because the way that you word things a lot is very good with like making you challenging people to think. And
well, these established players, these veterans, these starters, they've all been, practicing in walkthroughs and no pads. And the Vikings, of course, this year already opted to take the minimum amount of pad days, and even those aren't full speed days. So if you want your players to kind of cramp up, possibly expose themselves to injury, make sure to give them an opportunity so that kind of thing doesn't happen. Whether it's a drive or 2 in a game to let them feel what full speed's like again. Because sometimes you just need that familiarity to get back in the swing of things.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've heard players mention as well, too, that sometimes they like playing in a preseason game because it's like, okay, practice is practice, but a game is a game, even preseason. And sometimes you just like to get hit. You gotta get hit once underneath the chin and like get tackled and like, okay, I'm into it. I'm getting my legs.
You're like football's back.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm back into the football side of things. So it's a thing you have to balance, and every player is different. Every position is different as well too.
It's so funny hearing that. This has nothing to do with the Vikings, but I don't know if it was Chris Sims doing his quarterback rankings or somewhere along the lines. But Joe Burrow said that. He's like, I need that one hit to know I'm like, okay, I'm good. And they're like, no, dude, you're the last person that we want to get hit. Like, don't do that.
It's so weird because think of it like this too. Like, it really is positional. Like, you can make the case for, well, Kirk Cousins really doesn't need to play much in the preseason, but Greg Joseph, your kicker, yeah, I want Greg Joseph out there kicking and getting as much practice as possible. So you really can't have a blanket statement for veterans and rookies and free agents.
Right.
It's a case-by-case basis with it.
Speaking of Greg Joseph, he's been having a great camp and preseason so far.
He really has.
Which is exactly what you want to see when the team already cuts the other kicker that was supposed to be his competition.
Well, I think
Daniel Carlson made his field goals too. That was wonderful to watch.
No, he did not. He missed one.
He missed one.
He missed an extra point.
An extra point.
Yeah, I'm looking at it here. I was like, I kept getting updates. Sorry, Kyle. I kept getting updates. Field goal from Daniel Carlson. I was like, stop. Of all the teams, I don't want this to happen.
What I was going to say is that I think that this staff understands with your core special teams guys. So your kicker, your long snapper, and your punter, you have to treat them not as an individual pieces, but they're a collective unit. Okay.
So what you're saying is you should put them on an island.
No, you should not do that. Mike Prefer, do not do that. But no, you have to treat them like a unit. They work together. There's so much chemistry that they have to build together. And you've seen with Spielman and Zimmer getting cute on trying to change pieces in and out at the last minute. It messes up that chemistry. And so I like the way that the Vikings have 3 guys. We're sticking with these 3 guys. We're not going to fire the long snapper because he likes peanut butter and jelly, and fuck that. I don't like those sandwiches, because that was how Mike Zimmer treated the special teams guys. So like I like keeping them together as a unit like this.
It was interesting though that at kick returner, it wasn't Kenny, it wasn't Chandler, it was Smith Marset, and he's not even on the depth chart for returning kickoffs. But yet he was the one that got the most work at it in this preseason game. Is there something we should read into this, or we should all be pretty sure that Kenny Wong was going to be the starting kick returner, right?
I think so.
That's who I have down.
Maybe they don't. Again, they don't want to tip their hat, even though I know he did that last year. But maybe they're just like, we don't want him back there getting hit, getting hurt.
You think they're saving him already?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, truthfully, too, this is the most
saving him as the backup.
This is the most ignorant thing to say, too. I don't give a shit, because any of those guys doing returns are going to be in the running back or wide receiver spots. I'm like, you're already on the team. So,
well, this could be their way of trying to find a little more value from Smith Marset.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think Amir Smith, you look at him, he's probably what, 1, 2, 3, about 4th down on my depth chart. So when you
4 or 5, arguably, yeah.
Yeah, when you get into that 4 and 5 position is where you need your receivers to contribute on special teams. So you're looking at, well, who's going to be dressed on game day at this point too. And if he can help out in special teams, then you dress him on game days. If not, then maybe he's one of your inactive guys.
Did you see the Vikings nearly gave up a kick punt return touchdown, but it was long snapper DePaulo that made the stop. If he hadn't gotten that stop, that'd have been 6. The Vikings special teams unit looked pretty sloppy, to be honest. And honestly, there are some players that are going to need to make their living on special teams in order to get that. Josh Metellus is one of them. This game, he struggled mightily as a safety. He will need to prove that, hey, I am still a big asset on special teams if he wants to be the fourth safety.
I have Josh on my 53 roster. Not because that I think that he's going to be like a safety, but yeah, for the special teams player.
Because I feel like Mike Zimmer was much too into the, we don't need a player who's amazing at one thing. If we can have one player who's very good at a lot of things, then that's okay. But I don't feel like that's the right approach anymore. Because let's talk about all of our favorite players of all time, Jared Allen. Jared Allen did one thing. He did it excellently. You don't want Jared Allen dropping back into coverage.
Correct.
You don't want Jared Allen, playing the run. You want Jared Allen
him as a linebacker?
In Chicago, yeah.
That was so weird.
But no, you're right, Adam. You want Jared Allen with his hand in the dirt, bull rushing the quarterback. Because that was what he excelled at, and that's what he did well too.
And it's nice to have those versatile players that can do lots of things, but you definitely want that player that can do one thing exceptionally well and do it over and over and over.
I mean, look, Marcus Sherrills was not a good corner.
Not great, no.
Marcus Sherrills was not a great corner for the Vikings, but he had a pretty decent career on
very solid
as a core special teams guy who you could count on to field. Was he punt return or kick return?
Punt returner.
punt returner. So he was really good at being a punt returner for this team. And when he was finally not on the roster, we struggled in that area.
Still do.
Still do.
Yeah, you guys are right, and it makes me think we're talking about special teamers and how we've had there. I wish that Cordero Patterson was still on this team. Gotta miss that guy. He was so electric, and we're going away from the kickoffs. Eventually, I think there's going to be gone. Period. But fun fact: I saw people arguing on the old Twitter machine about him the other day. Did you know he has more yards? I think maybe even more touchdowns, or he's right up there with Hester and a couple other guys.
Oh yeah,
like. Holy crap, dude. They're talking about putting Devin Hester in the Hall of Fame. And I'm like, I get it because of his impact, because that does have something to do with outside of ones and zeros. But
so Hester was very upset he wasn't first ballot.
Yeah. I mean, he did impact the game in that era. He was very, very instrumental in a lot of what they did.
Vikings fans got to see a lot of those returns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's so wild because I only think of Cordero Patterson as like a 3 or 4 year vet now, and obviously he's going into like year 9, but he had some good seasons with the Vikings, and that's one thing he was very good at. We can never figure it out. Oh, go ahead, sir.
I haven't had any reason to look at Cordero Patterson's stats lately, but when you said that, yeah, it checks out. It checks out based on the length of time he's been in the league and how good he is at doing that. So
it's weird that they took the route running away from him and just made him sort of a running back, and now he's finding those holes and doing his shiftiness, and he's gonna have a career.
He's got a body like fucking Derrick Henry, man.
No, he doesn't.
He's so big.
No,
he's huge.
He's big, but he's not Derrick Henry.
Okay.
Yeah,
we'll dial it back there. But I'm thinking about how he does it running back, because when I watched him with the Vikings, I'm like, dude, this guy's too big to be lining up in the backfield. And then you look at his like height and weight, you're like, I don't know, man, that's a big motherfucker right there. Especially when he's doing the kickoffs, I'm like, dude, this guy's a giant. Because I'm always like, you think about Hester. I guess that's why I'm skewing him in my brain now, being Cordero Patterson is, the small shifty guys like Percy Harvin. He was electric because he's 5'9".
Darren Sproles like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're talking about giants. What do you guys think of Zach Davidson in the huddle lining up, and everybody else is in a huddle, and Zach Davidson's like crouched as far down as possible, trying to get in the huddle to hear, and then he stands up and he's just like a foot taller than everybody else.
I guess
Come on over to the practice squad. Come on over to the practice squad, baby. I don't have him on mine, but I think he can land with the practice squad. That'd be cool.
But yeah, I was really disappointed with everything tight end in this game. Aside from Zach Davidson's one reception, I mean, you wouldn't even know there were tight ends on the field.
Yeah, it's not a good group.
Politely panics. Okay, wonderful.
We really need Herb Smith to do the thing that he's never done and stay healthy.
Break out.
Yeah.
Also,
you, bud.
this is a good segue too, because this has been floating around in the old Twitter machine for a little bit now. I've been seeing reports, and this is from nobody credible, like super credible, but said the Vikings the starting center might not still be on the team. You guys buying into that? Because I said not too long ago they heavily need to look at tight end and center early in the next draft.
2 other teams had season-ending injuries to their centers, so if they're trying to get one in free agency, it's going to cost them now.
Correct.
Yeah.
Garrett Bradbury is not good. This is not surprising to any of us.
And he's going to fight with Chris Reed. Winner's going to get the job.
Yeah.
Right. In a perfect world, you trade for someone, but Adam, I mean, this. We talk about this all the time. If a starting caliber offensive lineman does not hit free agency, and you sure as shit are not trading for one, because
one does not last this long in free agency.
Yeah, and they're so difficult to replace.
Yeah, that's what I texted in the chat, and that's why I wanted to talk about it to you guys. And I wanted the people in the chat watching the show to chime in too. But it's all you've heard all season is sign J.C. Treader to the Vikings. He'll be the new center. There's a reason he was out there forever. And now, not only has Tampa Bay's center gone down, which I'm surprised they didn't call him immediately. Ironically enough, the Cleveland Browns center went down. So I don't know. I guess it's better to have a healthy Bradbury than no starting center at all. But I was just curious. I think they should look at a tight end or a center very early next year. And I mean, this is a way too early.
With how much the Vikings have invested in centers in the draft, it's hard to pour more resources into that one spot.
And then they nail it on the tackles. Like Darisaw and O'Neal look great. But yeah, the middle of the line is like very hit or miss. It's tough.
I like Ezra Cleveland. I feel like he's not great, but he'll do the job.
Mm-hmm. He'll be another Joe Berger type, even though it's not the same position. Hey, put him in there, he'll do fine.
The competition at right guard is still doing its thing, and I mean, there's some capable bodies there. But yeah, center is still a spot to have some concern about.
More slight panic. All right. Well, we're basically running down it. Kyle, you want to do this 53-man prediction? They did some cuts today. We should talk about that before. We should do that before we do our 53.
Was there anyone noteworthy that was cut?
Jake Vargas.
Jake Vargas, the fullback. Yeah, I almost called him Blake. Oh, thanks, Jonathan. Hopefully your kids sleep well. You guys had a good night.
Vargas.
Here we go on the Vikings app, which I found out today doing this at work. If you get out of the app and you go back into it, it refreshes every time, which is super annoying. But the Vikings waived fullback Jake Vargas, outside linebacker Andre Mintz. They waived defensive lineman Tyree Stevenson and wide receiver Thomas Hennigan. And the contract terminated or vested vet was cornerback Ty Smith.
So I actually was talking with Adam Patrick over at the Viking Age, who I work with over there, and he had an interesting take on Vargas getting cut. He feels like Vargas' release might signal the end for CJ Ham as well because of the position that's going down. And I don't quite see that correlation. But, no. I mean, I suppose it could exist.
Well, I wanted to talk about this anyway when we get to it. Eventually, I don't think the Vikings are going to carry a fullback on this roster. Like when we are into year 4 or 5 of this offense of Kevin O'Connell, I don't think we carry a fullback. But right now, that tight end grouping is really bad. and CJ Ham is really good. And he's versatile enough that you can kind of use him as that block. You can use him as a blocker. He can catch passes. So he can kind of fill in as a fullback tight end hybrid, which is a weird thing to say out loud, but he's a good player, and like he can make good things happen out there in the field for you. I mean, like, who do you want? Do you want CJ Ham or Johnny Munt out there catching passes, doing things for you?
Well, I'm going to take CJ Ham. Here's the other part of that too, Kyle. He can do all the things that Johnny Munt can, plus he can get the ball handed to him if we absolutely need to. You're not handing it off to a tight end. So I'm 100% on board with where you're at. I do have him on mine. I did not have Jake Vargas on mine. Kind of figured that would happen. Maybe he'll land on the practice squad. But, I just don't think the timing is right. And you're right. This is one of those, in a New England situation where they get rid of a player maybe a year early, he might be out. But for where we're at now, personnel-wise, it being the first year, getting everything figured out, I think this is still a pretty good feeling he'll be here, at least for my eyes. I want him on the team too. He provides a spark. He can get you a splash play every other game. I mean, he's a good matchup sometimes. Yeah. So I don't know. I got him on mine, but we'll see what the Vikings do. I have no idea what they're going to do.
I also think, and this is just me wildly speculating right now too, but I think a lot of Vikings fans are expecting, we're gonna run the entire Rams offense out here, and it's just going to be, that's just what we're going to do. And yeah, it's going to be different, and there will be shades of that. But I also think that we're going to be looking at more, just based on the personnel. We've still got Dalvin Cook. We've still got CJ Ham. We're still going to be looking at some more of those traditional I-back sets that we've seen from previous offenses that we've had run. are still going to be a big part of this offense. And I don't think a lot of Vikings fans realize that just yet. So, yeah, you're still going to have C.J. Ham out there blocking as a lead blocker for Dalvin Cook on offense.
Maybe they can do what New England's doing. You know, they haven't designated anything. Maybe this will be the first time in history where they can have 6 offensive linemen, and he and Bradbury can do 1A, 1B at center. That'd be cool, right? That'd be another hole for Dalvin to run through.
Kirk's got some experience lining up behind players that aren't the center.
That's
such a good joke, Adam. Oh, God, that's a good one. Woo! I hate that so much. He's so easy to hate on, too, if you're not a Vikings fan, and that only made it worse. It's like, oh, he's having a good season. Hey, you lined up beside or underneath the right guard, you dummy.
And if you ever want to see something terrible for Kirk, there's always that clip of him back when he was with Washington. He was supposed to spike the ball. He took a knee instead. It's out there.
I forgot about that.
Thanks for reminding us of that, too. Some gems out there. Andrew likes that.
Let's go through our shit here quick, Smith.
That sounds good, man.
Quarterbacks, I don't think there's any surprise here. Kirk Cousins, Sean Mannion, Kellen Mond. And that's the depth chart, how I think the Vikings are going to enter it this season. I don't like Sean Mannion, but he's the guy on the roster right now who's probably the most competent to run the offense should Kirk go down. I like Kellen, but I don't think you want to put him in a game-time situation because I don't think he could run the offense at all. Sean Mannion can't run the offense well, but at least he can line people in and out of formations. In a perfect world, we're going to replace him with literally anyone else in free agency, but that's not going to happen. So that's our quarterbacks.
I think these coaches are the water that this young quarterback needed as a flower, and they are going to mold him and make him grow. I have Kellen Mond as QB2. I think this is Sean Mannion's last year as a Viking, and what we saw in one game, I get. I'm not overstating it because I'm with you and Adam. Did he look good in this game? Absolutely. Am I here to say he's the anointed Jesus Christ Savior of the Vikings? No. This is what he should have did last year, but the coaching staff was like, piss off, rookie. We don't care. And that's pretty much what it was. He threw 3 passes in a meaningful game last year, and it went 3 and out. And one of them was almost picked. So it was very forgettable. But I like, even when he fails, and even when it's like, hey, there's a receiver open in the end zone you missed, he uses athleticism, something that Mannion has 0 of, like none. So at least there I can build into and talk myself into the possibility of extending plays. Now, does that put you in trouble and at risk for bigger negative plays? Sure. But I'd rather you not have cement block feet back there either and just get gobbled up because the interior line is so questionable. He can extend plays. I think because you have such a young offensive-minded coach, he's going to take his strides. I very much think the ceiling for this kid, his whole career, is a backup quarterback. I don't see anything there that says, man, he could beat out like Baker Mayfield in Carolina or Davis Mills in Houston. No way. Not a chance. Not right now.
Or Daniel Jones in New Jersey.
Oh, that's terrible too, but you're right. You're right. And I feel bad saying that because it sounds like I'm picking on Mon, but what I liked was seeing him do what's natural for him and the things I saw him do at Texas A&M. Because when his Instagram like highlight video from Pro Day came out, I was pumped. I was like, I hope the Vikings get this kid. And then they got him, and I was like, oh shit, that kid, he's got a rocket arm and he can move around. Okay, the NFL is kind of hard, but anyways, I'm going on a tangent here. I have Mond as QB2, Mannion as 3. They're going to keep 3 quarterbacks. Adam, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I don't know.
You should check that out on the Viking Age. I think there's an answer there. How about we'll switch back and forth. I have 4 running backs. I have Cook, Madison, Keenan Nwangwu, and Ty Chandler. I don't see Madison going anywhere this year. And I'm going to say this, and please, if you watch this, Alexander Madison, I like you. And I'm not talking shit like Twitter. I don't think there's anybody that's like super willing to trade for him. I don't think we need to. I think he's familiar with the system. 4 running backs is a lot because I don't see.
No Ham there is interesting.
Well, I keep him. I type fullback separately.
Oh, fullback and halfback. You have. Yeah. Well, they're both running backs. That's what I was asking.
Yeah, I have Ham, and you'd have 5 total. But, Kyle, I'm sure you agree. Adam, I'm sure you agree. You cut Kine Wangwu or Ty Chandler, they're getting scooped up. They didn't make it to the practice squad. So
correct.
As much as this might be a super pass-heavy kind of deal, the Rams ran the ball pretty well, and they did it pretty much when they're at their own will. And I think with the variety of backs that you have, especially the young guys, they're so fast. You have a lot of options here, so that's why I went with 5. But I have Cook, Madison, Wangwu, Chandler, and CJ Ham as the fullback.
That's what I got too. You're correct. Keeping 5 total is a little heavy on that. In a perfect world, Ty Chandler, you'd like to squeeze him on the practice squad. I don't know if he makes it past waiver wires. I don't think that they're going to be willing to give up on either him or Kenye, which you shouldn't do anyway. Madison is in the last year of his contract, so that kind of evens itself out for next year. You hate taking the extra roster hit right there, but you kind of got to do it. As for Madison, you're not going to cut him. I don't think anyone's going to trade for him unless someone else has a starting or a backup running back who gets injured, in which case, potentially, if you're Minnesota, maybe you do entertain that notion, just because it's the final year of his contract. He's not going to be here next season anyway. So why not get, even if it's a 5th or a 6th, you're getting something in return out of him. So that was my thought process with that one.
All right, you can do the tight ends. Who you got?
Tight ends, I got Herb Smith, Johnny Munt, and Ben Elephant. What's his name?
Elephant Son.
Elephant Son.
Elfson.
Ben Elfson. Those are my 3.
Ben Elfson, whatever. I can't. These are weird names.
Yeah, it's not a good group. I like Herb Smith. Johnny Munt's there. You probably kind of got to have a 3rd. So
you like Zach Davidson on the practice squad then, or just not a fan of what you see from him?
I still don't think there's enough spots. Maybe 2. Didn't he have a shorter career as a tight end in college too? He's
still kind of learning.
Yeah, let him learn a little bit. He'd be a good body for camp and practice squad. Tony, I don't ever remember seeing your name come up, but I'm so glad that you were with us, and I like that you chimed in. He said Kellen Mond is on a learning curve. Looks a bit better than what's been reported.
Correct.
I like that.
There have been some real good reports about him coming out of this year's training camp and the preseason. I mean, this year the Vikings coaching staff was a lot more willing to talk about what he's bringing to this team and the work he's put in. So it was nice to hear all that and then see that work has translated into some. He looked like a lot more, I won't say polished, but
comfortable.
It looks like he's come along quite a bit since last year's preseason.
Thanks, Tony. We appreciate you so much. I'm with you, Kyle. That's the order I had too. Herb Smith, Johnny Munt, and Ben Ellefson, 3 tight ends. Here's where we're going to disagree. I know it because there's just too many options.
I'm excited.
Here we go. Wide receiver cuts are going to be tough. That's right, Andrew. Here are my 6. I picked 6 wide receivers. I have Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne, and this is where it gets spicy. Amir Smith-Marset, Jalen Naylor, and Albert Wilson. I don't have BC Johnson on the roster. I do. Well, I will say this up front. This is the one I'm the least confident about and most accepting that I'm probably wrong. But I like that Albert Wilson got some love in the preseason game. And if he does that again, cool. ISM, kind of think he's a shoo-in because he has special teams capability. And I just like Jalen Naylor for the same fact that I like these 2 young running backs. So I don't know that he's going to make it to the practice squad. I could be wrong about Albert Wilson.
I don't have BC Johnson on my roster either.
What?
He is a hangover from the previous administration. I believe he's also in the final year of his contract, and I just don't think that this administration is going to stick by him. What's sad is that he could go to Chicago right now, and he's probably
their wide receiver 3. He can go to Houston. They just cut Chad Beebe.
So I have a question for you guys again on this one.
Okay.
Dan Chisena, what you going to do with him?
Well, Adam, let me do my roster for you.
He's a wide receiver.
Yep. And
he's not on your roster, so he's cut.
Well, hold on. I haven't gave mine yet. We haven't got to my list yet.
Your receivers? Okay, keep going.
Yeah. So I got Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne, Amir Smith-Marset, Dan Chisena. I got him on my roster.
Is that right? All right.
And Jalen Naylor.
Perfect.
All right.
I think Chisena can contribute out there on special teams.
Well, yeah, he's that special teams gunner. They've been using him for a couple years now, and
Dalvin
honestly,
Cook
I
said he's
don't know if
faster
there's
than
another
I am.
gunner that can replace him at this point.
Yeah. I got him on my roster. We need to improve on the core special teams. I'm kind of working on that Marcus Sherrill's theory with this one here too, where hey, maybe he's not the best of receiver, but if you can be the gunner for this team, if you can contribute out there and make plays in that position, like that will find you a roster spot. Naylor is another one that, man, you'd maybe like to put him on the practice squad. Don't know if he'll make it past waiver wires, so I had to keep him on my 53.
Fair. So it's rather than breaking it down by tackle, guard, center, guard, tackle.
You just want to go through the whole line.
Let's just see where we vary there, because I don't want this to take too long, but I also am excited to hear who you have.
I kind of want to hear it in a group of 5 with your starting unit.
Yeah, go ahead. We'll do that.
So I have Wyatt Davis. And Wyatt Davis, you should have seen the look on your face, Adam. No, he ain't making my roster at all. We're cutting Wyatt Davis. That was a bust of a draft pick, if I've ever seen one. I have Christian Darrisaw, Blake Brandel, Ezra Cleveland, Garrett Bradbury, Austin Schlottman, Jesse Davis, Ed Ingram, Brian O'Neill, and Uli Odo.
So yeah, we're pretty similar there. If I ran through, I'm trying to do 2 things at once. I'm trying to pull up the roster here on Vikings.com, but yeah, we're close. Adam, my starters: left tackle Darrisaw, left guard Cleveland. I still have Bradbury slotted at center because on the depth chart that's where he is now. Right guard Ed Ingram, right tackle Brian O'Neill. My backups: I have 5 backups. Now I don't have one at every position. I have some that are kind of hybrids. On the depth chart, they had Oli Udoh as a tackle. Now, he played guard last year, but I think he could slide into both in an emergency situation. But I have Blake Brandel, Oli Udoh. Is it Chris Reed?
Yes.
Chris Reed, Austin Schlottman, and Jesse Davis.
Now, I found it interesting that you guys both have Schlottman. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, depth for center, like just a specific backup center.
So you want 3 centers deep?
Well, they have a couple of these guys listed at different spots, like Reed.
I'm not talking about they. I'm talking about you.
I know. I'm just telling you where I got my information from and why I listed it this way. Guys, you bite my head off, man.
Why do you have him there?
Why do I have him there? Well, Vikings.com, and I did this specifically off of their list, right? Ezra Cleveland, starting left guard. They have Reed listed under the guard and center option. So
correct.
I threw everyone in that category there, but I'm like, I don't know where. And it specifically why I picked Austin Schlottman. He was the only one there that had another center designation beside his name, because they do have Reed listed as that on the website.
Because to be honest, I don't see the point in having a third center.
No, I don't either. Now they could rotate.
So Schlottman can take a hike.
So if I kick him out, you don't have to give your whole roster away, Adam, but if you would kick Schlottman out, who would you replace him with?
Reed.
Okay, I have Reed as one of the backups for the guard. Who would replace Reed there?
Reed's a center guard. He's their Joe Berger.
Oh God, I miss Joe Berger now.
Or he's hoping to be the Joe Berger. So yeah, I don't see Schlottman making it. I don't see them putting that much on the center position, even though it is kind of a dumpster fire at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's the most dangerous liability for the offense. Next would be tight end, just because we don't know how that's going to roll. But overall, there was good hope there with Ingram. He looks pretty solid. He's doing his job. He's not like, oh my God, he's the guard from Indianapolis that good. But hey,
no,
cool.
he's not Quentin Nelson, but
he's better than Oli Udoh, or at least already there, which is good. I'm happy to see that. But we mostly agree on the line.
For me, I think, interior offensive linemen are the hardest thing for a fan to sit here and try to grade for me. Like your tackles, like, okay, you can tell when a tackle is playing well or not well. But man, you get into some of those interior positions, and that's tough to figure out. Center,
I'm doubting neither of you guys have gotten to watch much Austin Schlottman tape.
Yeah, I know. Whatever. I think he was. Because I did the same thing Smith did. Yeah, I pulled up the unofficial depth chart, and he was listed as like center 2.
Adam, you're right. It's the opposite. I haven't watched any of that, but I have seen enough of Bradbury where I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know this kid, but he's probably going to take your job.
That was my thought process,
which is pretty bad.
Like, I don't even know this guy, but fuck, he's got to be better than Bradbury.
Yeah, here, I finally got it pulled up. I was trying to find the article. So they have starters for the interior offensive linemen: Cleveland, Bradbury, Davis. So the backups. Oh, yeah, we both didn't put in Josh Sokol. I was like, there's another center somewhere. We didn't have him or Wyatt Davis or Kyle Hinton on
I hear
there.
he could be a good practice squad guy from what
I've got a little breaking news for you guys.
What's up?
Mike Zimmer is hired as a coach.
Where?
He will join Jackson State University coach as an analyst, announced by Coach Sanders.
He got teamed up with Prime? Let's go! That's cool, man.
I called this shit.
Good. Yeah, you did. That is
all
awesome.
Along.
I am so happy for him. Good for him.
I don't know if it's breaking. It's a couple hours late, but it's news I didn't know.
I had
no idea. I'm happy to hear that. I'm glad he's still getting to be with ball some way, and that's cool. It's a little refreshing. Take a little break from the NFL, and I also like that Deion Sanders had that interview. I think last year or this year, it was like, they're like, "Hey, when are you going to play Alabama?" He goes, "Not this season. I'm not sacrificing all these kids for a check."
Mike Zimmer.
Oh man,
Mike Zimmer will thrive because now he can bully around college-age kids who can't talk back to him. So he will do well, and he will do well in that situation.
Keep doing his thing at the 5th quarter or whatever it is that he's working on.
What's up, Fire Breather? Glad to have you back. Andrew says I miss Joe. Maybe he's not going to be Joe Berger. Maybe he can just be Joe Burger. Miss Hutch too. Yeah, I think we all miss Steve Hutchinson, man. Oof. I missed all these comments I was looking on there. Do we have any punt returners besides ISM? Currently, the backup on Vikings.com, Tony, is Jalen Naylor, who's been taking some reps. So we'll see. That's part of the reason I had him in my wide receiver list, but we'll see. But that's the offense. We're halfway done.
Defensive ends, I think that's Tomlinson, James Lynch, Armon Watts.
Yep.
That's the way it should be.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I wanted to put Twyman on there, but the numbers game didn't work out in his favor.
That's literally the only reason.
He had a strong preseason game.
Yeah, he's a guy that I think they can probably put on the practice squad. I don't know if anyone else is going to try to covet him and snag him. I would love to see Twyman on the practice squad. I think another year for him to develop will do him really well as well.
West, you got the guy you're rooting for as a backup?
Watts? Armon Watts?
No, as a backup. T.Y. McGill.
I do have T.Y. McGill. I fucking put T.Y. McGill on my roster because it's my 53-man roster, Adam. I got Harrison Phillips and T.Y. McGill.
There you go. Harrison Phillips is a backup, huh?
I had T.J. Smith, but I don't feel confident in that. I did have Harrison Phillips starting, and T.Y. McGill had a decent game, yeah.
Oh, yeah. He had a flash play that was fun.
He had, a sack and a half?
Yeah.
That's all you need. That's it. It's going to be tough sledding for my Smith prediction there. But, yeah, we agree. 3 defensive ends, 2 nose tackles or defensive tackles. Here's where it got weird for us watching a 4-3 forever and now going to the 3-4. I was like, outside linebackers. And then I had to put inside linebackers, and I was like, I don't like this anymore. Cool.
Yeah,
you want to sneak around that, just use edge.
Yeah, I should have. That's what I should have done.
I like that.
My outside linebackers, Daniil Hunter, Zadarius Smith, Patrick Jones II, and DJ Wanham.
Yeah, for my group, I'm keeping Daniil Hunter, Patrick Jones, Zadarius Smith, and DJ Wanham.
I really want to see what we have in Janarius Robinson. I was very stoked about him because
I had him on my list.
Man.
He was one I had to scratch out.
I heard good things about him. I think he was a Florida State guy, and I just heard so many good things last year, but it's just a numbers game. And you know what? He might only be a backup for a while, kind of like, who's the guy that was in Seattle that was a defensive tackle for us for a while? Came in, came back.
Kevin Williams?
No. Damn it. He was like, him and Everson Griffin always talk. Tom Johnson. If DJ Wanham has that kind of role, obviously they're two different positions, but he could do it, man. He's a good backup. I don't think he's a quality starter, but he could have some staying power in the league. I don't mind him too, because especially that, I think it was the COVID year when he won the game for us against Green Bay. Oh man, that play lives rent free in my head. But yeah, we have the same 4 outside linebackers. Cool.
Linebackers: Eric Kendricks, Jordan Hicks, Brian Asamoah, Troy Dye, special teams guy, and Blake Lynch.
I didn't have Asamoah down. I should keep him on there. I might have miscounted my list, boys.
Uh-oh.
That is entirely possible as well, too. You can add him on there.
He's definitely been balling in camp, and he's like one of the hybrid linebacker that the NFL is looking for now. He's not on my list. I did have Kendricks, Hicks, Dye, Lynch. Yeah, I don't know how I overlooked Asamoah, but I would definitely have him in. I'll recount real quick while we do cornerbacks.
Patrick Peterson, no surprise there. Cam Dantzler, Andrew Booth Jr., Chandon Sullivan, Chris Boyd, and Caleb Evans.
It's exactly the order I have mine in.
Nice.
Convenient.
Harrison Hand. Remember when I told you I originally did this? I'm like, I accidentally put 55 people on here instead. I had to go back.
Some glances where he looked really good.
He has. But when I miscounted, I had 55 on here the first time I went through. I had to go back through and cross a couple people off, and Harrison Hand was one where I'm like, well, that's a tough one, but I don't know if he'll make this roster.
No, I didn't miscount. Somebody's got to go off my list. This is tough.
So no Chaz Surratt at linebacker for you guys, though, huh?
I know who I'm getting rid of.
No Chaz Surratt. He can be a backup quarterback, Kirk. He's probably
I don't like this cut that I'm going to make because special teams is a big deal, but I want Brian Asamoah, so maybe he can fill in. But you just named the corner, so this is the perfect time for me to jump in. I had 4 safeties originally. Smith and Bynum starting, Lewis Seen, and Josh Metellus. Josh Metellus, you're getting the axe.
Oh, no.
I got to make room for Brian Asamoah, so woof, that's going to be tough.
3 safeties.
Yeah.
Get rid of Sean Mannion.
Oh, dude, please in a heartbeat.
My safeties, I got Harrison Smith, Lewis Seen, Cam Bynum, and Josh. What was his last name?
Metellus.
Yeah. Metellus? Yeah.
It looks like you guys had a pretty similar lineup. No big surprise cuts on there. Which there's usually at least 1 or 2 shockers.
It just makes sense.
I kind of think BC Johnson is a bit of a surprise because he's a veteran receiver who could probably contribute more right now than what someone like a Naylor would for this team. But I think you're betting on the future and keeping Naylor and are willing to kind of make that tough decision and move on from BC Johnson, even though, like I said, Chicago or some receiver needy team is going to pick him up, and he'll contribute, and he will look good for them.
Ooh, here we go. Jonathan says, I think that's coming. Mannion will no longer be on the roster very soon. Ooh. Did the punter have an O-line number? Last I saw, he was like 67 punting in the backfield.
The backup punter, yeah, he actually looked pretty good, too.
Well, let's go through that real quick so we can round out the show. But yeah, kicker Greg Joseph, Jordan Berry's the punter, Andrew DePaula is the long snapper. Going off of what we had last year, kick returner Kene Wangwu, and then punt returner ISM, the backup kick returner KJ Osborne, backup punt returner Jalen Naylor. And this is off the Vikings website. I feel confident in 3 out of the 4 of those returners. I don't know. I haven't watched Jalen Naylor do any punt returns, but you got to have a backup designated. That also justifies a spot that I put for wide receiver earlier for depth. So I'm 75% sure all of those guys will be on the team in some way, shape, or form. But that is interesting. Jonathan,
okay, I'm kidding, but now do your active, 45 on game days?
Dude,
now
we got to rally for that shit.
5 more Vikings cuts, I believe, before Tuesday. One more week. So, I mean, it's going to be a little bit of trimming. Then it's going to be a cleaning house.
I think they keep Wyatt Davis until final cuts to give him every opportunity to see what he can do. He will be cut. Who else is going to be a cut?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
That's so funny. You guys are so funny in the chat. Fire breather. We'll bill you and we'll prorate this since you're having a therapy session. Thank you for bringing up all the PTSD in the chat. Get rid of Matt Khalil, Dakota Dozier, and Pat Elfline. Even though they're not on the team, they all still give me nightmares.
Yeah, that's fair.
Cliff's not a fan of Perry Nickerson.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see any special there. He played a couple games last year, but yeah.
Well, let's end this show here with a little bit of NFL trivia. I'll give you guys an NFL trivia question.
Ben Roethlisberger.
And then we'll call her a day. Okay, so this year, the Jacksonville Jaguars got their very first member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame inducted, leaving one franchise that has never had a Hall of Famer on their roster. What franchise is it?
The Texans.
It is.
I was going to say it would have to be the Texans.
They're the youngest one. That's the only reason. I immediately went to Detroit, and I was like, you idiot. Barry Sanders is in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, they're just so young.
Because you got the young teams like, the Jaguars and the Panthers, and the Panthers have had some pretty high-name people going through their door. But, yeah, it's kind of sad for Houston. But you got to think, Andre Johnson, DeAndre Hopkins, J.J. Watt
is certainly going.
One of those three is going to make it in at least.
Dude,
I'm
Andre
trying
Johnson
to remember.
was a badass. That's still one of the coldest replays ever when he takes off Cortland Finnegan's helmet and starts punching him. Holy shit, that's awesome.
So the Houston Oilers turned into the Tennessee Titans, right?
Correct.
Yep.
So the lineage from the Oilers went to the Titans.
Right. The only team that got back their history was the Browns, because when they moved to Baltimore, they got back their history as the Browns, and it came back to Cleveland. I don't know why it worked out that way, but it did.
Dude, I watched this same stuff you're talking about, the history of the NFL and how it started and all that. Dude, there's some wild changes, like the Colts, then the Ravens leaving Baltimore, or the Colts leaving Baltimore, and didn't the owner pack it up like overnight and cut the hell out of town?
Oh yeah, that was some wild stuff.
Much drama, and it's like, this is actually cool to learn some of this stuff. It's not fun when we talk about it on the show that the Vikings almost got shipped to San Antonio or something like that. Oh
yeah.
Oof. Thank God for the Wilfs, right?
So close.
Adam, I like these questions because I get them right, and that makes me feel less stupid. So thank you for these easy ones. I appreciate that.
You guys got to get a softball every now and then.
I appreciate
I've watched
the layups,
those
man.
history of the NFL videos, and it's fun because pretty early on in the league, like the Vikings, Packers, and Bears kind of all established themselves and don't really change that much, like in our division. Like we kind of we kind of get established up here, and that's it, and that's fun. I like that.
It's still weird that the Lions have still never really been great.
You know what else is weird? The Vikings haven't been to the Super Bowl since 1977, but the regular season, I think we're 5th in wins since the NFL started, like the merger.
Crazy.
Which is insane.
During that game against the Raiders, they brought up that iconic scene of John Madden getting lifted up, and that photo that you've seen millions of times of Madden. I love that photo of Madden, but I hate that it meant that he beat the Vikings.
We make legends. You're going to have a legendary time against us. It's 5 years later, and I still hate Nick Foles.
Well, that's all I have for this week. How about you guys?
That's it.
That'll do it.
The Vikings host the 49ers for their second preseason game this weekend. I don't remember the date. I'm sorry.
Saturday. I don't know
kidding.
the time.
Saturday, they will host the 49ers. We will get you up to speed next week on that game at some point. Adam, take a breather, sir. I'm going to do this for you because I want to talk about your channels, and I want to talk about some stuff that you and I have done recently, and we're going to keep doing. Check out Adam Carlson at MN Viking Zombie on all his social media channels, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all those fun places. He and I have been doing horror movie reviews. We did a really fun one recently, and I was very pleased with the subject matter, and that was you should go check it out. He also writes for the Viking Age. If you want to get Vikings news, that's why he did not participate a lot in our 53-man roster, because he wants you to go to that website, find his article. Here's the key there. I always try to do these details. Log in, leave a comment. You can just type the word cat. He likes cats. You're going to make his views go up. You're going to put his income in a better place, and just check out his work. He does a lot of good writing.
Kibble in the cat's dish, man.
Yeah, every comment does put an extra kibble in. It's really nice. He also writes for Undead Walking. If you're a Walking Dead fan, you can find some articles.
Tales of the Walking Dead just kicked off with our first episode on Sunday.
Here we go.
So good. So good. Terry Crews. I can't say enough about that man. Such a good actor, so much fun.
And who else?
There were three really good actors in that show.
Didn't you bring up my future ex-wife in that one earlier today? Did I read that right?
Possibly.
Oof. He had me at Olivia Munn. I was like, I will be tuning in for this.
It's definitely worth watching, even if you're not a fan of The Walking Dead. Each of these episodes of Tales of the Walking Dead is not really connected to the main story or the characters. They all feel like little individual movies. So, I mean, if you're not caught up on Walking Dead, you can still watch Tales and have a good time.
Love it. You can check out all of Adam's stuff here. And like we said earlier, just go to at MN Viking Zombie on all the social media outlets.
Oh, yeah.
Check out that YouTube page, man. He does a lot of cool stuff there, and we do horror movie reviews there. We're going to steal West at some point and do another one. And speaking of Kyle West.
Speaking of those horror movies, though, before we bring Kyle West in, we might want to take a look at it. I don't know if you've seen the first one, but that second Orphan movie is coming to Paramount Plus. Don't know if you're into that movie.
I have not seen the first one. I've heard really good things about it.
I enjoyed it.
Avoid
all spoilers if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I do want to watch the second one as well, too, because it's fascinating. Kind of some of the behind the scenes I've caught a little bit of on that one, on how they made the actress look younger for that film. So that was some pretty cool stuff going on there as well, too, with nice camera trickery.
But yeah, I mean, I recommend that one if you feel up to it. Maybe we'll check that one out. Maybe we'll get some more recommendations. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, we've just been doing Russian roulette on the Hulu, the Netflix, everything. So suggestions are always fun. We can't guarantee we're going to do it, but it certainly adds your chances of getting it out there. So that'd be fun.
You can check me out over on Twitter. Vaguely Square is the name. I'm on Instagram as well. That'll lead you to a lot of my photography work, which you can also check out over on the Facebook page. If you want Purple People Podcast merchandise, that's the place to go. Buy yourself a shirt or a hat or a mouse pad or whatever you're looking for.
Can you buy Purple People Podcast underwear, like a thong?
I don't know if you can, but I will find out.
Because if there's one thing every lady loves, it's a Purple People Podcast thong.
Definitely.
You can shop there. I don't know if we put that up on the screen. You can get all the stuff that we just mentioned there. And like we've mentioned before on other parts of the other podcasts, it's pinned at the top of our Facebook page if you want to shop there. We also, we'll promote this in a couple of weeks too. We're going to do the Survival League again, I'm sure. And I always buy the winner their choice of 2 items, Purple People Podcast items, out of there and get those out. So
I am broke as a joke. I can't afford prizes or anything like that for the podcast tournament. So it would be up to these guys if we do it or not. But
I'm definitely down. Anything we can do. I think I want to say up the stakes a little bit, but I will ask in return that if you win, that you'll promote the page and help us spread the word a little bit. We just want to keep growing the channel. I don't think we do a lot like a lot of other YouTube pages where we bombard you with like, click, subscribe, jump screen to bell notification. Like, we hate that shit. We don't do that. But
no, run the Manscaped ad.
We should get a sponsor at some point. That'd be fun.
We did get offered by Manscaped.
That would be amazing. Unfortunately, I'm not shaving anything to promote that. I'll just have to hold the product. But yeah, I think that's something we'll talk about later. I just want to get a little bit more promo, but I'm definitely down to help buy you some Purple People podcast stuff. Maybe send you a little gift. But yeah, we're running long in the tooth in this episode. So yeah.
Thank you to everybody who joined us in the chat. It's never the same without you guys. You guys keep this show going. If you can, give us a like. Go on iTunes and leave a favorable review so we can get seen by more people over there. Same thing with Spotify. We're over there with all our shows. The full catalog of shows can be seen on YouTube. You can watch us live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and on my Twitch channel. And thanks again, once again, everyone, for coming on in, talking Vikings football with us. So thank you so much, and stay classy, Minnesota.